Not everyone who feels connected to Krishna is meant to disappear and sacrifice. Some people are delaying their own rise, not because they are lost, but because they misunderstand what devotion actually asks of them. You were taught that restraint is virtue, that silence is strength, that enduring quietly is noble. And yes, these are qualities Krishna recognizes, but there is a thin line between living with dharma and slowly abandoning yourself in its name. Most people never cross this line. They don't feel enough, they don't care enough. But you crossed it without realizing. Think about this carefully. Have you noticed how often you excuse others but question yourself? How easily you say, "It's okay, I'll adjust," while something inside you tightens, not in anger, but in exhaustion? This is not weakness. This is a Krishna-like heart. But here is what no one warns you about. A heart like this, if unguarded, can turn devotion into delay. Pause for a second. When was the last time you felt something wasn't right, yet convinced yourself it was necessary? Hold that memory. Krishna never asked Arjuna to disappear. He asked him to stand fully present. Dharma was never about shrinking. It was about clarity in action. Yet many people confuse patience with postponement, humility with self-erasure, and tolerance with silence that costs them their truth. And slowly, without drama, life begins to feel heavy. Not painful, not tragic, just misaligned. Let me ask you something, and answer this one in the comment, using just one word. When you put others first again and again, what emotion stays behind for you? Relief, emptiness, tiredness, peace. Write the word that comes instantly, don't think. Your first response is the honest one. Here is the part most people miss. Krishna-like hearts don't suffer because they give too much. They suffer because they give without discernment. In the Gita, detachment was never about neglecting the self. It was about not being enslaved by outcomes. There is a difference. One creates freedom, the other creates quiet resentment. And resentment, when unacknowledged, does not explode, it numbs. Maybe you felt it, a fading enthusiasm, a dullness where joy once lived, a sense that you are doing everything right, yet something essential is missing. That missing piece is not effort, it is direction, because sacrifice without awareness is not dharma, it is habit. This phase of your life is asking you to notice something new, not how much you can endure, but where you are unconsciously withdrawing from your own path. No, this is not about becoming selfish. Krishna never glorified selfishness, he glorified balance. A bow that is pulled too tight snaps, a string left too loose never releases the arrow. You are being asked to find the tension that creates movement. Now we will talk about the exact mistake Krishna-like hearts repeat, the one that feels righteous, but silently postpones destiny. Before moving ahead, reflect on this quietly. Are you waiting for permission to live fully, or have you been giving permission to everyone except yourself? You already know the answer. There is a quiet pattern that repeats in lives shaped by Krishna-like awareness. It does not look like a mistake. It does not feel wrong. In fact, it often feels right. And that is why it goes unnoticed. You move with consideration. You sense situations before words are spoken. You adjust your steps so others don't stumble. But slowly, without intention, your own movement becomes cautious. Not because you lack courage, but because you are constantly calculating the impact of your presence. This is where delay begins. Krishna never taught avoidance. He taught clarity without attachment. Yet many people internalize only half the teaching. They release attachment but forget clarity. And when clarity fades, decisions become slow. Opportunities feel heavy. Action feels premature, even when timing is right. You wait not for guidance, but for certainty, and certainty never arrives. This is the subtle mistake. You believe waiting is wisdom, but sometimes, waiting is just fear dressed as responsibility. Not fear of failure, fear of disturbance. You don't want to disrupt harmony. You don't want to create imbalance. You don't want to be the reason someone feels uncomfortable. So you hold back, again and again. Until momentum forgets you. Krishna never asked for harmlessness. He asked for the right action. A river that refuses to flow to avoid erosion becomes stagnant, Its stillness looks peaceful, but it no longer nourishes anything. You are not meant to remain still forever. Here is something important. Your sensitivity is not the problem. Your compassion is not the problem. Your awareness is not the problem. The problem begins when you postpone action to preserve comfort, yours or others, and life responds to movement, not intention. Pause here for a moment. Think about one situation you've been understanding for too long. One area where you keep saying, "Now is not the right time." Now answer this and write just one sentence in the comment. What are you afraid will change if you finally act? Many people assume dharma means endurance, but endurance without direction becomes stagnation. Krishna's path was never passive, it was responsive. Action, adjusted by awareness. Movement, guided by wisdom. When you hesitate endlessly, you are not being mindful. You are being disconnected from timing, and timing is sacred. This phase of your life is not asking you to try harder. It is asking you to step forward without complete reassurance. Not recklessly, not emotionally, but decisively. Because clarity appears after movement, not before. Some doors are not unlocked by patience. They respond to presence, and presence demands participation. You don't need to become louder. You don't need to become aggressive. You only need to stop shrinking your truth to fit situations you've outgrown. Let this settle. What you are sensing lately, that quiet restlessness, that internal pressure, is not dissatisfaction. It is readiness, and readiness ignored becomes frustration. One of the deepest fears carried by Krishna-like hearts is this: if I step forward fully, will I become someone I am not? So you soften your desires, you dilute your voice. You half-step into situations where your whole presence was required. Not because you lack strength, but because you don't want to lose your gentleness. Here is the truth that often goes unspoken. Gentleness does not disappear with action. It disappears only when action is driven by ego. Krishna never abandoned compassion when he lifted the bow, he aligned it. Many people think choosing oneself means becoming rigid, but rigidity is not strength, clarity is, and clarity feels sharp only to those who are used to comfort. You have felt this conflict, haven't you? The moment you think about asserting yourself, your mind brings up images of loss, relationships changing, perceptions shifting, peace breaking. So you stay balanced on the edge, not retreating, not advancing. That edge is exhausting. There is a difference between being peaceful and avoiding friction. Peace expands life. Avoidance slowly contracts it. When you stop choosing, life chooses for you, and rarely in your favor. Krishna, like awareness, is not meant to keep you agreeable. It is meant to keep you aligned. Alignment sometimes creates discomfort, not destruction. Discomfort is temporary. Misalignment lingers. Let me place something before you, not as instruction, but as reflection. Think of one moment where you spoke less than you felt. Not because you were unsure, but because you didn't want to disturb the energy. Now answer this in the comment, honestly and briefly. Did silence actually protect peace, or did it postpone truth? You are not here to be endlessly understood. You are here to be fully expressed. Krishna's path was never about pleasing every side. It was about standing at the center, where action rises from awareness, not approval. When you act from that center, you don't lose yourself, you reveal yourself. Something is already shifting in you. You are noticing where you compromise too early, where you wait too long, where you call for patience to avoid the discomfort of choice. This noticing is not accidental. It means the phase of preparation is closing. From here, life will begin responding differently. Situations will test your clarity, moments will ask for a response, not contemplation. And the question will no longer be, is this right? It will be, am I present enough to act truthfully? You don't need to become fearless, you only need to stop negotiating with your own knowing. Because when knowing is honored, movement becomes natural. And when movement becomes natural, life reorganizes itself around you. There is a quiet signal within you that has been speaking for a long time. It doesn't shout, it doesn't argue, it simply withdraws when ignored. You may recognize it as that subtle loss of enthusiasm, that moment when something once meaningful starts feeling repetitive. Not wrong, just empty. Most people misunderstand this signal. They think it means, I should try harder. I should be more grateful. I should push through. But that is not what it is asking. Krishna-like awareness does not punish, it redirects. When you keep moving in a direction that no longer aligns, life doesn't block you immediately. It dulls the experience. Joy fades first, then motivation, then clarity. Not to hurt you, but to make you pause. You were never meant to force continuity. In the Mahabharat, pauses were sacred. Silence was not avoidance, it was recalibration. But recalibration only works when followed by movement, and this is where many people get stuck. They pause and never resume with intention. Here is something important to understand. The inner signal is not asking you to quit everything, it is asking you to update your alignment. Some roles you've outgrown, some responsibilities were temporary, some compromises were never meant to become permanent, yet you kept carrying them out of loyalty, habit, or fear of disruption, and now the weight feels heavier than before. That heaviness is information. Let me slow this down. Discomfort that sharpens you is growth. Discomfort that drains you is misalignment. Your body knows the difference even when your mind tries to justify. Tell me, where in your life do you feel tired even before you begin? Don't explain, just name the area. Krishna never demanded blind continuation. He demanded conscious participation. There is no virtue in repeating a role that no longer requires your full presence. There is no wisdom in staying still when clarity is asking for movement. This phase of your life is not asking for more effort, it is asking for better placement. You are not meant to abandon compassion, you are meant to stop leaking energy. You are not meant to fight the world, you are meant to stop resisting your own evolution. When alignment returns, even effort feels light, and when alignment is missing, even rest feels exhausting. Pay attention now. If something within you feels relieved hearing this, that is not comfort, that is recognition. And recognition always comes before change. What comes ahead is not pressure, it is precision. A way of moving where you no longer question yourself endlessly. Where action feels clean, where silence feels chosen, not forced. There comes a moment when confusion is no longer loud. It becomes quiet, almost polite. It doesn't disturb your routine. It doesn't break things apart. It simply removes conviction. You still show up, you still perform what is expected, but something essential is missing. The feeling that your actions are moving with you, not against you. This is not laziness, this is misplacement. Krishna-like awareness is highly sensitive to misplacement. When your role no longer matches your inner frequency, life doesn't punish you, it slows you down. Progress feels delayed. Outcomes feel muted. Even success feels strangely hollow. And you start asking, what am I doing wrong? Often, the answer is nothing. You are simply standing one step behind where you are meant to be. Direction becomes heavy only when it is pulled by obligation. When direction is aligned, movement feels obvious. Not easy, but clean. You don't debate every step. You don't seek constant reassurance. You move, adjust, and continue. That is dharma in motion. Here is where clarity begins to return. Stop asking, is this safe? Will this disturb others? Will this change how I am seen? Instead, notice this. Where does your energy naturally expand even if the outcome is uncertain? That expansion is guidance. Let me bring this closer to you. There is something you've been postponing, not because you can't do it, but because stepping into it would require you to stop explaining yourself. An explanation has become a habit. Answer this in the comment with one honest sentence. What would you move toward if you didn't need to justify it to anyone? Krishna never asked for justification. He asked for alignment. When alignment is present, words become unnecessary. Your actions speak in a frequency that explanation cannot reach. You are not meant to push harder. You are meant to stand where your strength is naturally required. That is why forcing consistency is draining you. You are sustaining a version of yourself that has already served its purpose. This doesn't mean it was wrong, it means it is complete. Completion is not loss, it is release, and release creates space. Space for clarity, space for momentum, space for a form of confidence that doesn't seek permission. What you are sensing now is subtle, but it is accurate. Life is not asking you to restart. it is asking you to reposition. And once repositioned, movement will feel lighter without becoming careless. Even after clarity arrives, something resists movement. You finally see what needs to change. You understand where you've been misaligned. The confusion fades, yet your body hesitates. Not your mind, but your body. This is where many people misunderstand themselves. They think, if I'm clear, why am I not moving? Because clarity does not immediately dissolve conditioning. Krishna-like awareness is gentle, but the patterns you lived with for years are not. You learn to pause before acting, to read the room, to adjust your pace. That skill once protected you. Now it slows you, and the body remembers old survival more strongly than new insight. So, resistance appears, not as fear, but as tiredness, delay, distraction. You suddenly feel the urge to wait a little more. That urge is not intuition. It is habit asking to stay relevant. Resistance after clarity does not mean you are wrong. It means you are rewiring. And rewiring always feels uncomfortable at first. Your nervous system is learning a new rhythm, one where you don't shrink before stepping forward. Here is how you know the difference. Fear feels loud and dramatic. Resistance feels dull and reasonable. Fear says, what if everything goes wrong? Resistance says, maybe this isn't urgent. And urgency is exactly what resistance tries to erase. Krishna never rushed Arjuna, but he did not allow endless postponement either. He waited for readiness, not perfection. Readiness is quiet confidence, not emotional certainty, and you are closer to readiness than you realize. You don't need to remove resistance. You need to move despite it, gently, steadily, without negotiating every step. Momentum does not come from motivation, it comes from commitment to movement. Even small movement retrains the system. Notice where resistance shows up as later. Not refusal, just delay. Now answer this, my child, what do you keep saying you'll do after things feel easier? You are not meant to overpower yourself. You are meant to lead yourself. Leadership begins internally, when you stop waiting for comfort and start trusting alignment. This doesn't make you harsh, it makes you present. And presence dissolves resistance faster than force ever could. Something subtle is happening now. The inner debate is losing intensity. The need for reassurance is weakening. The pull toward action is becoming quieter, but steadier. That is real strength. From here, what unfolds is not struggle. It is authority without aggression. A way of being where you no longer ask if you're allowed to move. There comes a stage where you stop proving yourself, not because you gave up, but because you no longer need validation to move. This is not arrogance, this is inner authority. Krishna-like hearts don't dominate, they stabilize. When you are aligned, your presence alone creates clarity. People sense boundaries without you explaining them. Situations reorganize without confrontation. Authority at this level is quiet. You don't react quickly, you don't over-explain, you don't chase outcomes. You act once and stand by it. That steadiness is power. Here is the shift you are entering now. You will stop asking, is this acceptable? And start asking, is this aligned? That single change redraws your entire path. Not everything will come with approval, but what comes will come with peace, and peace is the real signal of right action. My beloved, tell me, what kind of life are you no longer willing to sustain? This message was never meant to excite you. It was meant to settle you, because once you are settled within, movement becomes inevitable. You are not here to struggle endlessly. You are not here to disappear in sacrifice. You are not here to wait forever. You are here to live with balance, clarity, and presence. From this point forward, you don't need to rush, but you also don't need to delay. Take one aligned step, then another. Life will meet you halfway. May your actions be steady. May your heart remain open. May your path become lighter as you stop carrying what was never yours to hold. And may you move forward without guilt, without hesitation, without shrinking. If this message brought clarity, if my words touched your heart today, and you feel inspired to support this seva, you can purchase Ko-fi. The link is pinned in the comments section below. Your kindness keeps this devotional work alive.